can cause their bones to break. This is Deborah. Deborah has broken over 3,000 bones. Now, when she was born, she was handed to her parents on a pillow and was not expected to live. And this is Andrea Yeager. Andrea is 2 feet, 11 inches tall, and her teeny body has sustained 1,000 broken bones. When she was a baby, the doctors told her parents not to even touch her unless it was absolutely necessary. Andrea and Deborah are so teeny and so delicate and so fragile because they suffer from a brittle bone disease. And the best people to tell this story, you just stay with us because you really are going to change the way you think about things, is Deborah. When you were a baby, what would cause the bones to break?
Anything at all. A slight touch, sneeze, cough. Mother would wash my face. I'd go to push her hand away. Bone would snap 2, 3 places. You'd have diaper changes, that the legs would snap if you rolled me the wrong way. The hips would snap. The rib cage would snap. It would be just hit and miss. You know, you try to do your best to change the diaper, to wash the body, and do what you could. And if it broke, you just had to deal with it. You had to go on.
Yeah, but Deborah, how does a mother handle that? You bring a baby home and every single time you touch it or you just cough, something's broken. How'd she deal with that?
Well, she just said that she had to adapt. And she said it was hard whenever they first brought me home due to the fact I was only supposed to live 9 months. Well, after I lived 9 months, Mom and Dad got together and said, well, she's with us for the duration, I suppose. Let's do the best we can. And so they brought me up as an average, everyday person. Sally, I didn't even know I was handicapped until I went to school.
Really?
You know? It was like, I'm handicapped. Where?
Even today, your attitude.
Yeah, I mean, my parents told me, everyone's handicapped. Don't let them single you out. You know, I mean, some people are taller, some people are shorter. Some people have to deal with not being able to walk right. They have a limp, they wear glasses, they have hearing aids. Maybe they're not too bright upstairs. I mean, we have handicaps all over the place.
So you just feel that this is yours. Let's try to explain it to people because there are about 30,000 people who have this disease. You were sustaining at one time about 3 breaks a day.
Yes, exactly.
Can you imagine breaking your bones 3 times a day?
Well, it was due to my stubbornness. My father and Mom, you know, every time they'd turn their backs, I'd want to do something. So I would say to myself, okay, I want that, or I want to do that. And I'd go over and I'd try to reach up high enough or pull it, and I'd bust a couple bones doing it. Well, as I was sitting there healing, it'd be like, I know I can do this. So
I'm thinking of the way
again. I mean, let me figure out how I broke this bone, and I won't do that this time. I'll go another way. Well, after about the 4th or 5th time, my parents would say, okay, Debbie, we're going to help you figure this one out. You're not going to quit till you get it, are you? No. So you just have to keep going, and that's what I did. So maybe I was my own worst enemy, but I've lived on my own since I was 18. So...
Debbie's dad learned to set bones. In case you're wondering, obviously you don't run to the hospital or the clinic or the doctor 3 times a day, and they didn't ever treat her any different than they would treat anyone else. Although you did have to live in a home for crippled children for a while.
Well, 1 year. It was when my father got out of service and we were in civilian life. He was career Air Force. And we got into civilian life. They did not want a handicapped student in their school system. And so it was either my mom and dad told me they go to jail for not putting me in school, or I have to go to this home for crippled children for a year. Well, it was heartbreaking for the whole family because, number one, I couldn't figure out why, because I wasn't handicapped, you know. And number two, my parents could not figure out how to fight it exactly correctly to get me into an average everyday school. So my Uncle Fred Walker, my great Uncle Fred, who's deceased now, he was with the Shriners, and he was also working in City Hall at that time.
Helps.
He pushed and pushed my grandmother Walker, my grandpa Walker, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my sisters, my mom and dad. Finally, when I came home at the end of that year, I was told I could go to a regular school as long as I had an attendant, and the city was willing to pay for that attendant.
Now, you're saying to yourself, how much of a normal life can someone like Deborah live? And yet, Deborah did meet a man and did get married. Do you want to tell us about that? The whole story isn't always very happy, so I think we ought to warn them.
No. I fell in love. It was love at first sight, you might as well say, because I was 27, and I figured, well, I got over the hump. I'm not doing this because, you know, I'm young and I can't adjust. I want to get married. That wasn't it. I fell in love with him on my birthday. And my sister Delilah had thrown a surprise party at one of the taverns in town for me. And he was there shooting pool. So he came over to me and he said, hi, can I buy you a drink? And I thought, ooh, he's good looking. Okay. So he bought me a drink and I said, now what are you doing talking to me? And he said, well, you're a beautiful lady. And you talk good things to me and I'll melt in your hand. Well, back then that was so, but now I'm a little more suspicious. Anyway, then I said, hey, you want to come home for a Coke and a smile? So he did.
Coke and a smile?
Yeah, back then that was the...
No, I just wanted to learn the lines, Deborah.
Well, I gave him a Pepsi and I told him he could grin tomorrow, you know. But we started seeing each other and then we lived together because I wanted to make sure we could reside together as man and wife before we got married. So we did that and we got married September 10th, 1982. And I got pregnant 2 years into our marriage. And I had had a tubular ligation when I was 23, so I didn't know what was wrong with me. You know, why was I getting up getting sick? What was the problem here? But whenever I found out, I was 3.5 months pregnant. And they told me it was twins. And I thought, oh, my God. But I said, I've done worse. I can do this. But the doctor said, no, you've already got them pressing on your heart, on your lungs. You're not going to make it. And my sisters, Delilah and Quinn, told me if they could take the 2 fetuses and implant them, one in each of them, they would carry my children for me. And I cried over that because I thought that's love, you know, that is real love. But they said no, they weren't doing it then, and I couldn't do it, and the decision had to be made now. So my husband at that time told me, have an abortion, Debbie. I know you don't like that word, but there's nothing I can do.
Because it's your life.
Right. And he says, I cannot raise 2 kids without you. And so it was hard. And they couldn't just abort them. They had to do a partial hysterectomy in the process. So from that point on, Sally, it went sad because we both went into a depression that we didn't understand. He went downhill slowly. I really believe he had a breakdown.
A mental breakdown?
That our marriage just didn't survive. And I couldn't handle him the way he was. He couldn't handle me the way I was after that. So he's now, I don't know what he's doing now, to tell you the truth. But I got a divorce in 1986. It was in October of 86. And I even got a $3 rebate back from it, so I figured I came out ahead anyway.
You got $3 back?
Yeah, and I cashed it at Weiss Market. That was like, hey, girl, you know, here it is. You can get a rebate with your divorce. Go here. But
you have, before we let you go for a minute, because we got to do business, you have said average-sized people like me are scary.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because you think you can carry me over ice and snow and get me wherever I have to go, but don't you dare touch me on ice and snow. I'd like to pose a question. How many people would really trust someone else to pick them up if they break as easy as we do, pick them up and walk them over a sheet of ice?
Not me.
Now, let's think about that.
Not me. So there's nothing unusual about that?
No, not at all.
So Is there a psychological message that average-sized people are scary?
No. I love them. I married a 6'2" man.
And would you marry again?
Oh, yes, definitely. But now that... But I've given myself a limit. I cannot marry again till I'm 40.
Why?
Because by then I hope I'm smart enough to pick out the right one.
When we return, a woman so fragile, she's broken over 1,000 bones. You're a piece of work.
I don't know. I'm stuck. I can't get out of here. I'll call you back.
When the diagnosis is minor sore throat pain, many doctors recommend Sucrets, medicine for soothing relief. In fact, in the physician's desk reference, it says, maximum strength Sucrets. Active ingredient, diclonine hydrochloride. Action, soothing anesthetic relief. Here's what it means for you.
Now that feels better.
For soothing relief, get Sucrets. Soothing medicine for sore throat pain.
Everywhere in the world, news is happening. ABC's World News Tonight and Channel 7 News take you there.
Everywhere.
With ABC's Peter Jennings.
Everywhere.
The only national news at 7 p.m.
Everywhere.
Pete Wilson. Ana Chavez.
Everywhere.
Dr. Dean Adele.
Everywhere.
Watch Channel 7 News at 6.
And ABC's World News Tonight at 7.
We take you there.
Everywhere.
The Rose Resnick Center has qualified handicapped workers eager to work. To access this valuable resource, call 441-1980.
Getting auto insurance just became a whole lot easier now that FGS has 16 offices throughout California. Join the millions of drivers who have already called FGS for a quote and find out how FGS can help you get auto insurance too, regardless of your age, where you live, or the kind of car you drive. At FGS, you'll get a low down payment, low monthly payments, and the same low rate whether or not you're currently insured. So call right now for a quote. Then insure for less at FGS.
More RVs under one roof than ever seen before in Northern California, and at the lowest prices of the year. It's the 1990 RV Super Sale on now through January 21st at the Alameda County Fairgrounds in Pleasanton. $40 million worth of 1990s. Motorhomes, fifth wheels, truck campers, van conversions, tent trailers and travel trailers. Doors open weekdays at 11, Saturday and Sunday at 10. Take the Burnell exit off 680 to the Fairgrounds. Senior discounts, plenty of free parking. Check the RV classifieds for discount coupons.
Let me say something to Deborah. Good news and bad news. Good news is there are a lot of stiffs in the world, and I'd spend time with you over just about anybody I know.
Oh, okay? Thank you.
And I agree, you don't have a handicap. Maybe the world does. Good news is that you eventually do become smart enough to know how to choose someone. Bad news is it may not happen at 40. So if that's okay.
Well, like I said, at least I won't be an old maid. I've already been married once.
There you go. There's something nice about that. I want you to meet Andrea Yeager. Andrea, by the way, there is a name for this disease. I think I ought to show off a lot. Osteogenesis imperfecta.
That's right.
Thank you. Brittle bone disease. And Andrea has broken over 1,000 bones. When she was a baby, the doctors told the parents, don't touch her unless it is absolutely necessary. Born with 200 broken bones, water on the brain, a bad heart, lungs, liver, and jaundice. And the doctors said to your parents, well, you just have a few days to live. So is it a miracle?
Yes, very much so.
That you're here?
Yes. I just kept living, as after the 3 hours they gave me, I lived 7 days. And 7 days they couldn't believe I'm still living, so they says, well, we have to do something for this baby. We don't know what to do at the time. So they took me to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and they used me as like an experiment. They tried to see what is wrong, and they couldn't figure out at that time what is wrong, what is causing her to break, why is she the way she is. And so they researched and researched, and I kept living. So they said, well, we have to do something with this child. And so they just sent me home as I got stronger. As I kept living, I got a little bit stronger. So they sent me home on a pillow, just like Deborah, with my mother. And when they sent me home, every time my mother would try to bathe me or everything, I kept snapping a bone. Well, my mother didn't know what to do at that time, and she needed help at that time, and she just called a friend of ours, had a child with brittle bone disease also, that knew this doctor, Dr. Lang, at the time. And said, you know, we've got to see this baby. You don't know how to take care of this baby of mine. She keeps breaking. Every time I touch her, I bathe her. Just even slightly move her. My grandmother touched my hand very gently in the crib, and I just snapped a bone just like that, just by a little touch. And so I went to this Dr. Lang's office, and he says, well, we can rod her, but her bones at that time are so thin.
Rod her?
Yes.
Put a rod through the bones,
yes,
which is the only thing they do now, am I?
Yes, right.
All right, now, I just want to move you along a bit.
Okay.
Your experience as a child was not as good as Deborah's.
Right.
In that you had to be in a body cast,
That's
a
exactly
full
right.
body cast for the first 9 months of
Right.
your life.
Before the rotting began.
And since it was impossible to take care of you, you were in a home for handicapped children for 14 years.
Well, it was, yeah, it's about that. I was 16 years old when I left.
And the way you got around was they put you on a cart, face down.
Well, face down and up. I could lay on my back also.
And you would use the cart, you would be looking down or looking up and use the cart to maneuver yourself
Well, no,
for all
I
those
couldn't
years?
push, because if I put pressure, I would snap a bone.
Then you just lay on the cart for all
Right.
those years.
Right.
What?
And I also...
When you're growing up and you're unable to move, and you're laying on a cart in a home for crippled children, how does one keep any sense of optimism, of that it's okay? I mean, stretched out, unable to move for 14 years like that on a cart. No family around you?
No, there wasn't. That's true. There wasn't any family.
What happened in your head is what I'm asking.
As thinking-wise?
Yeah.
At that time, I didn't really know anything different like Deborah. I just considered myself a normal child. And I would just move. I mean, I fed myself and on this cart and everything. And at that time, I mean, I wasn't able to move, but I didn't know any better. You know, when I was that young, I just considered myself a normal child.
What happened, Andrea, when you did know better? When you got a little older, wasn't that a depressing?
Yes, I had a lot of depression. I think a little self-pity came in as I got a little older. Why am I the way I am at sometimes? But I got over it. The Lord Jesus just really kept me the way I am. If it wasn't for him, I think I'd be in pretty bad shape.
Now, when you meet people who have a pity party for themselves, or who feel, and we all do.
Yes, we all do.
Smack 'em.
Is it smack 'em?
That's what I feel like.
But how do you make people, Andrea, how do you make somebody feel better?
I just tell them, hey, you're no different than anybody else. I mean, just like Deborah said, we all have handicaps. There's blind people, deaf people, and you're no better than anybody else here. And I'm no better than anybody else here.
Or worse?
Or worse, that's right. I mean, I don't think I'm any better than anybody. I mean, I'm just consider myself a normal person. I mean, I take care of myself fully. I do just everything for myself.
Let's just
I
say we're
carry
not the ones
jobs.
that made the definition normal.
That's right.
Other people did, not us.
That's right.
So I like to think of it as being average.
Amen.
I'm no smarter
like that.
and no dumber, except in men.
Andrea, having heard Deborah's story, would you marry?
I don't know. I met a gentleman who does have brittle bone disease. He's a nice gentleman. He's a year older than I am. I don't know if I really want marriage right now. The way the world is today in society, I don't feel that way. I mean, if we can just be companion, that's fine with me at that time.
But would you like that?
Pardon?
Would you like it if he'd be your companion?
Yes, oh, very much so.
Do you want me to do this for you?
Would you like this?
If you'd like. What's his name?
His name is Christopher Fitzgerald.
Okay. Chris, I don't know if I know how to do this anymore. Chris, if you're watching, Andrea is interested in something platonic, but definitely with the future. In a moment, a fragile young bride, just to prove that it can happen, who walked for the first time in 17 years. You're going to see the day of her wedding.
We took the almonds and the flakes and we mixed them both up. We took the almonds and the flakes and we shook them both up. You get the almond delight when you taste them both together. Almonds and the flakes, that makes the taste better. Almond delight, it's the best.
Hey, you don't want a meal on wheels. You want the whole kit and caboodle. It's got shapes, flavors, stuffing. Woo.
Kit and Caboodle brand cat food makes other meals seem downright mousy.
Oh, cats.
Share the warmth, share the glow. There's no soup like Progresso. Welcome home, say hello. There's no soup like Progresso.
When you taste Progresso, you know it. There's no soup quite like it. Progresso has that sunny Italian flavor, a special goodness all its own.
There's no soup like Progresso.
The UC San Francisco mobile mammography van will be at 1855 Folsom Street for cancer screening January 16th through the 19th. Call 476-2193.
Join the excitement this weekend for the 5th annual Marin American Indian Expo and Sale at the Marin Center Veterans Auditorium in San Rafael this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only. See nationally famous American Indian artists and traders with an incredible selection of contemporary and antique goods, all authentic American Indian handcrafted. It's happening this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only at the Marin Center in San Rafael. Don't miss it.
Glasses in about an hour? I thought, sure, as long as the lenses are simple. But I've got a tricky prescription, so I tried Lens Crafters.
Lens Crafters crafts your quality glasses in about an hour by putting the whole lab right in the store, so you can see better and work better in about an hour.
Made me a pair of top quality no-line bifocals, and they did it in 51 minutes. No kidding.
Lens Crafters, custom crafted eyeglasses in about an hour. 14 area locations, including Valley Fair. Call 1-800-522-LENS.
Okay, back to the love and romance issue. My next guest walked for the first time in 17 years on her wedding day. And as she made her way down the 75-foot aisle, she, of course, dislocated 3 ribs, of course, for her. This is Sandy Roberts, and she can break a bone if she sneezes or coughs or is hugged too tightly. Think of that in context of being married. Sandy, you were confined to a wheelchair for 17 years. Why was it important to you to walk on your wedding day, which was, by the way, a couple of months ago? We're dealing with the bride here.
It had always been my dream to walk down the aisle. And I always believed that I could. It was just a matter of finding a way to fix. I had a permanent fracture in my leg for 17 years. So it was a matter of finding a way to get that fixed, which the doctors told me couldn't be done. And of course, finding the man that I wanted to marry, that's important. You can't walk down the aisle by yourself. And so I met Dan, and right before I had started dating him, I had an operation that my doctor and I designed a special rod that is made out of titanium. And it is anatomically correct, the way my bone should be aligned. They made it to fit the inside of my bone, which is very small. So it was custom just for my leg. And they operated, and and restructured my bone to fit on the rod, and then took bone from another part of my body, did bone grafting, and it worked. My
Built
leg,
the bone around the rod.
right, and my leg got about, I'd say, somewhere between a ½ inch and an inch longer, and I had to learn to do everything all over again because, of course, when you're used to being out of alignment, and when you're put back in alignment, you have to learn everything all over again. And I had to learn to walk again. And it wasn't until about a year after the operation that I was officially pronounced healed after 17 years. And my doctor said, well, go ahead and try to walk. So,
And it was down the aisle.
and it was down the aisle.
Now, you did break, as you're going down the aisle walking for the first time in 17 years, you did break some bones
Well,
or
I
dislocate them?
dislocated 3 ribs. And it
Three
was,
ribs.
It was because... and it was something that we didn't even think about. I had a walker, and pushing on the walker as I was walking, and with my dad holding under my arm and holding it up, because he's 6'4". And so it just dislocated 3 ribs on my right side. And I didn't even know it because I was so excited about the day until after the reception had started and I'd hugged over 200 people. Then I thought, oh, you know, something hurts. And then I realized what I'd done, but I see a chiropractor, and my chiropractor, which that's not something you'd think someone with brittle bones would do, but my chiropractor was at the wedding along with all my other doctors, and so, right at the end of the reception, she went up to the honeymoon suite and put them back in place for me. So,
God bless her.
Okay, how tall is your husband?
He's 6 feet tall.
And how tall are you?
4'3".
All right. How is your romantic life?
Same as anybody else's. Normal.
Do you have to be much more careful than anyone? No? Why? Are you interested?
I'm not going to touch that one.
You want me to take it?
Go ahead.
We have everything you have.
That's right.
And we have read and watched all the movies and books there are. And have even gone to a few movies to see what happens. So with that in tail, you just let nature take its course, and you come what comes naturally. You just do it.
And I think when you're with somebody that you love, you're very relaxed with them anyway. And that's
So it's a matter of being relaxed.
Right.
Even with 3 ribs on a wedding night?
That's nothing. That's nothing. I dislocate my ribs all the time. I mean, I had lived with a fracture for 17 years, so 3 dislocated ribs is nothing. I even fractured, because of the non-union in my femur, I even fractured one of the stainless steel rods that was in my leg.
You broke a stainless steel?
I broke a stainless steel rod.
I thought those things were not breakable.
No, well, metal fatigue.
Sounds like we're talking about an airplane here.
The metal gets tired.
Right? Stress fatigue on the metal?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Because the OI bones are so thin, they bend a lot, so they wear on the metal, and the metal can wear out if it's not changed soon enough.
True.
See, I would have thought that once, if you have the metal rods, have you ever thought about the metal rods?
I've had them. I've had them, too.
Didn't it work?
Yeah, mine worked.
Yeah.
But I would have thought that would be the best thing that one could come up with. I mean, I wouldn't think
It's the best thing that they've come up with.
And
so
the
far.
only thing.
And the only thing, but it's not.
Let me take just a second of your time to say something. I don't believe God makes mistakes. I mean, this is just my own personal, sometimes I carve out a second or two. And I also think that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Some of the attributes of people with this disease is they are short, they have a high voice, they have very brittle bones. What are some of the attributes others that we should know about?
I think, well, just the fact of being in a wheelchair, there are a lot of advantages. I mean, you don't have to wait in line a lot. And that's an amazing thing. You go to Disneyland, you go in all the exits. You never have to wait in line. I think it's part of who I am. And I wouldn't know what life would be like without having brittle bones. And so I don't think that I've had anything special happen to me I think you take your opportunities and make them for yourself. Yeah.
All right, she's not going to say it. None of the three of you are going to say it, but one of the attributes besides the height and the brittleness of the bones is that for whatever reason, the people who have this disease, remember, the Lord giveth, have tremendously high intelligence. So you're sitting here with three people that the world would call handicapped, but up here, they are much brighter than most of us. Isn't that fascinating? Next, a mother who was accused of causing her baby's bones to break. Fascinating story when we return.
I'm Bob Knoll. My official title is Head of Auto Testing for Consumer Reports magazine, but I really work for you. Every year, my staff and I report on over 140 models, specifically with your needs in mind. So when you shop for a car, you'll know if it's safe and reliable, how it's equipped, how it performs, and whether it's cramped or comfortable. And there are over 200 people who work for you at Consumer Reports. We test and report on everything from toothpaste to TVs. And since Consumer Reports is nonprofit and accepts no advertising, we're able to give you the unbiased truth about products. Right now is a good time to try Consumer Reports because you can get a free trial issue with no strings attached. Here are the details.
Call now for your free trial issue of Consumer Reports. Learn how products compare, which give you the most value for your dollar, and which are best for your specific needs. Consumer Reports gives you information like which fast food lunch had the least fat, which VCR had the best picture quality, which oil filter best protects your car, which laundry detergent delivers what it promises, and which bank really helps the money pile up. Consumer Reports rating system compares products by brand name. You'll know who the reliable manufacturers are, which models have the features you want, plus all the pros and cons, including price. Call now for your free trial issue, then decide. When the bill arrives, pay it and get 11 more issues, 12 in all, including the annual buying guide issue for just $20. Or write cancel on the bill and owe nothing. If you do subscribe, you'll also get 2 free gifts: the New Medicine Show, updated and revised, plus the 1990 buying guide issue.
And your paid subscription includes the annual auto issue with new car ratings, repair records, and crash test results. So put Consumer Reports to work for you. Call now.
Call 1-800-248-7400. 1-800-248-7400.
Discover the fascinating fungi that grow in the Bay Area at Coyote Point Museum's 11th Annual Mushroom Foray and Fair, January 20th and 21st.
Just as we said with Deborah's love life, things don't always go smoothly. Joining me now is a mother who says that her son was literally falling apart in her arms. Please meet Bev Driver and her son Patrick. Now, when Patrick was a baby, Bev had no idea why he was always breaking bones. It isn't something that most of us know about. And something very unpleasant happened. The doctors and the nurses accused her of physically abusing the baby. And what followed were years of agony, because Bev wasn't hurting her child at all. Patrick was suffering from brittle bone disease, and no one knew it. Bev, how did it feel to have people, doctors, people who are in power structure, accuse you of beating your son?
It was very devastating. It's hard being a new mother anyway, and then when things go wrong, I took him to the hospital like 4 times in a month.
When he was a baby?
Yeah, he was only 2 months old when he had his first arm break. And then the babysitter was dressing him. I'd just gotten there to pick him up. And she went to put his arm in a little sleeper, and we heard this pop. And my baby let out this scream that I still remember very well. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, And now I think it's kind of strange, but I backed away from him. I couldn't go to him. She picked him up, and his little arm was limp. And she said, I didn't do this, did I? I was speechless. I couldn't say anything. So I ran to the phone, and I knew I couldn't get my husband because he'd been en route home from work. So I called my father and told him to meet us at the hospital. The sitter's daughter drove us to the hospital. And I remember when I had him in the truck, I was crying, and I'm looking down at him, and he's smiling up at me. But when we got to the hospital, they took x-rays and said that there was nothing wrong with him. If anything, it was a ligament that had pulled loose. Just be careful with him.
They said that there wasn't a broken bone.
Right.
These are doctors?
Doctors. Okay. They said, just be careful. So we take him home. 3 days later, I'm holding him in my arms. I hear this pop, and he lets this scream. I yelled for my husband. He was downstairs in the workshop. Again, we go to the hospital. They take another x-ray of him. He's not broke. It's just a ligament. Be careful. We're going, be careful. You know, what can we do? We're not doing anything. So my physician said, bring him in tomorrow, which would have been a Monday, and I will put a plaster splint on him just to allow the ligament to attach. So that's what we did. On Monday, we went in. So at 2 months old, he had a cast on his arm, but at that time, it was not for a break. It was just to protect the ligament. 3 weeks later, I'm holding him again in my arms, and I hear this pop, but it's from his leg. So we called the doctor, and he said, you better get him to the hospital. We take him to the hospital. Again, they tell us he is not broke. It's the same thing as with his arm. So we go home, and at that point in time, I feel like I have a little eggshell in my hand. I don't know how to handle him. I'm in dressing him on a Sunday, and he was being real fussy. He let out he kicked real hard, and then that familiar scream. So we take him to the hospital. This time his leg is broke. They admit him, and they're asking me how this happened. Did you drop him? And I said, no, I was changing him. And the looks were like, sure, you know, this is, yeah. I believe this. So they admitted him, and they said it was for observation. Well, now I know what the observation was. After they admitted him, they took a body x-ray of him, at which time they found a healing fracture of his left arm. That then is when the problem with the child abuse came in. And he then, we had him, actually, he was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and we had him transferred.
I know it's a complicated story. Who accused you of beating up on your child and breaking his bones?
Actually, it was the hospital.
The hospital itself accused you?
Mm-hmm. And at the time, I didn't know that, but it was the hospital because of the two. I could not explain his breaks. Therefore, I was lying.
Therefore, when you say, I don't know why the bones are broken, the hospital says, well, we do. There's another instance of child abuse. And they claimed you hit him with a baseball bat?
They tried to say what it was. His left arm was a twisting spiral fracture, which is very common.
So they claim you twisted his arm
yes,
to make him behave?
Yes, they said I got mad and twisted him. And that the break on his leg was a blunt fracture, of which I could have used a baseball bat or something like that. Now, we're talking 2 and 3 months old.
These are people who couldn't find breaks. When they finally found them, said you were responsible for them. Did they take Patrick away from you, and how long did this nightmare last?
They did. He had been returned. We went through a long court battle even at that time. He was returned to our custody with the proviso that the Department of Social Services was to come and visit us once a week. I didn't realize I had to adjust to their time. When they called on a Monday, I said Tuesday and Wednesday we were busy. Thursday, the social worker was busy, so we settled on Friday. That was not good enough for the courts. They entered an order to have him taken away and placed in foster care. The sheriffs came to our home, and I was at that time in the bedroom changing Patrick because we were getting ready to go somewhere. So he was in a t-shirt and diapers, and this was in January, so it was 10 degrees out. 3 men came to our door. My husband let him in. They wanted to know if his wife was there, and he said yes. He said, go get her because we need all of you present. I went out. They started reading this order that they were going to place him in foster care, and I said, no way. I had him on my hip. I called our attorney, and I'm trying to talk to him, and the sheriff throws the phone out of my hand. At that time, they tried to break my arms open to get Patrick. And they did. And they ran out of the home. And he was away from me for 2 months. During which time, at that time, he was 5 months old. And he was returned when he was 7 months old. During that time, he got his first tooth. He learned to crawl, and he learned to sit up.
You want me to take a break? Sure. I'll do that. We'll be right back. Okay?
We've published about 100 books in the past year. The #1 and #2 books were the 2 celebrity bios that we did.
They call them kiss and tell books, and the kind of hot secrets they reveal are setting the publishing industry on fire. Now, Entertainment Tonight gets the inside story on the public's appetite for the stars' private lives. What is it about the tell-all books that keep those pages turning and cash registers ringing? Get the inside story only on Entertainment Tonight.
Monday at 7:30 on Channel 7.
Want to change your image and be more up-to-date? Well, we'll show you how. The new look for the decade. Hairstyles, makeup, fashion for the 90s. Next, Donnie.
Donahue, Monday at 4 on Channel 7.
Get started again on your high school diploma. Thursday, January 18th is drop-in day for dropouts at California Adult Schools.
Good morning, I'm Ron Owens on KGO Radio. Let's go to the phones. Yeah, yes. Come on, let's get serious. No, but that's crazy. You're right, I like that.
Hello, anybody. Jim Eason on KGO Radio. Listen to this. Next. Yeah, sure. Pardon me. Right, so what's the point? Now you're talking.
Not the same old story. Owens and Eason on KGO News Talk 81.
Getting auto insurance just became a whole lot easier now that FGS has 16 offices throughout California. Join the millions of drivers who have already called FGS for a quote and find out how FGS can help you get auto insurance too, regardless of your age, where you live, or the kind of car you drive. At FGS, you'll get a low down payment, low monthly payments, and the same low rate whether or not you're currently insured. So call right now for a quote. Then insure for less at FGS.
Patrick, what do you make of Mom here?
What?
What do you make of Mom? It's okay. It's a kind of unfair question. Let me help you out with this. There was a long and torturous court battle, and finally went to the state Supreme Court, which declared that Bev was innocent. They had put her through all of that. Now, Patrick, you showed up for our show with a broken leg here. How did that happen?
Well, I was at my school, and I was going to sing with my choir at the Star Spangled Banner, and I was walking up the bleachers, and I missed a bleacher step.
Kavoom, right? How do you feel about that? Does it hurt?
Yeah, sometimes.
You get tired of it hurting?
No.
No?
Not really.
Pretty strong guy?
Yeah.
Don't you think it's pretty neat that Mom went through all those things and fought for you? Is she a good mother? I was thinking she was.
Yeah, she is.
Are you glad? Would you trade her in here?
No, never.
No, you want to keep the same one? What do you tell this guy? What do you tell him about himself?
Well, I try to tell him that he's someone special. He's one of God's children, and he's special. I was trying to explain that to him one night, and I think he was going through a down period. And he said, I'm special, but it's in a bad way. And I said, no, it isn't. He thought God had given this to him for some reason. But like you said, even though they may have the the bone problem, they're very intelligent, and that's one thing I'm very proud of him. He is very intelligent.
Deborah, when you heard this story of the mother and the child abuse, what were you thinking?
I was trying to be polite and not go off in front of everybody.
Well, you go off.
Let me tell you something, Sally. The sad part about this disorder, and it's osteogenesis imperfecta, it's been around for 2,000 years.
That's right.
They found a mummy 2,000 years old with this brittle bone disorder. And they've known about it all this time, and it came down to us being educated enough. We're in the 90s now, you know?
They can
and
diagnose
she
it
got
in a mummy, but they can't diagnose it in children.
She got caught for child abuse that she didn't even do
anything.
And they're not even willing to go back in and check on different disorders like this.
You said they can find it in a mummy, but they can't in a person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Oh, I read an article one time where a lady in England had a child that could not feel pain, and they said it's a 1,000,000 and 1 chance that she'd have a second child like that, and she had a second child with the same disorder. It could feel no pain. Does it cross your mind about having other children, and to the lady on the end who just, Sandy, who just got married, does it cross your mind about having children that has the same disorder that you have?
Yeah, there's with OI, there is a 50-50 chance, if you have OI, of passing it on to children. As far as, for example, my parents were concerned, there is a test now that can diagnose OI. And so my parents had the test, and I had the test, and it was found that I was a mutation. I have a brother, he does not have OI, and so it cleared our family. So I am the only one that can pass it on, but there's 50-50 chance.
Will you take the chance?
Yes.
Why? Sally, I want to say something here.
Let Bev,
okay.
No, let Sandy answer just.
Because my life is great.
That's why you take the chance.
Sure, and who better to raise somebody with OI than somebody that's been through it?
You're right.
Go ahead, Debbie, I'm sorry.
What I was saying is we were told that if you were light-haired and light-skinned in our family, you had a chance of having an OI child. And the blue sclera in the eye, the whites of the eyes have a bluish tint. If you have that along with it, then you are a definite candidate to have one.
Huh. Is this disorder very painful? And also, what are the occupations of the ladies right here?
I work for a major computer company, and I have for 12 years now. I was hired right out of high school. And I'm a technical planner for a computer language. And that I want to say that it is a common misunderstanding. Even doctors have it. They don't think that we feel pain because we break all the time. Oh, you must be used to it. We feel the same pain than anybody else does, just because we may get used to the way it feels and aren't that vocal about it because it's just life. You know, they assume that we don't feel pain, and that's not true. That's not true.
An interesting sidelight, if I might, that after Patrick was diagnosed and they put it all together and no, mother wasn't abusing her child, they then went back and found out that her father and brother were tested and had brittle bone disease and had had bones broken, and no one had ever called it a name or knew what it was. But that's the way, you know, that's the way it came down in one family. We'll take a break. More questions, and you're going to meet the family members when we return. Okay, you all feel like playing television?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to make you the host now. Would you please stand up? I would like Deborah to introduce this person to us.
This is my beautiful and very talented sister, Delilah. Delilah Brown.
Delilah, when she had the miscarriage, you were the one that said, okay, if I could have a transplant, I'd take care of it. That's how much you love her?
Oh, that's how much I love her. And I wanted to have a child, and she was available. I wanted to help her out so that she could have her own baby. But it didn't work.
What kind of person is this? No peeking, no listening, please.
Sometimes she's obnoxious. But most of the time she's just fun, she's exciting, and I just love to take her everywhere I go.
Because
Everybody loves her to death.
she's really not dull.
Oh, absolutely. My heavens, I can take her anywhere, and there's the conversation piece. I mean, I could introduce her a lot because I use her personality to get me into a lot of, or out of a lot of sticky situations because she's good.
Do you mind being used that way, madam?
Oh, no. It gives me practice.
Goes with the territory?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sir, will you stand up? Sandy, would you like to introduce this person?
This is my husband, Dan.
We've been married how long?
Since September 9th of '89. It's about 4 months.
What are the thoughts that went through your mind and the things that the family talked to you about in terms of marrying someone like Sandy?
Well, I grew up in a family that has OI, the brittle bone disease. My mother, my brother, and sister all have it. So I've grown up seeing the bones breaking now and then, and I've met a number of people through a local group that we belong to. That's where I met Sandy. And I had no hesitations. She's a lovely lady. She's very strong-willed. She knows what she wants.
And do I love her?
Yes, I love her very much.
Andrea, do you want to introduce this person?
My sister, Betty Gardner. And her husband behind you is Rick Gardner.
Would you both stand? Now, when you came in today, I've heard of the point man. What'd you say you were? You said, "Hi, Sally, I'm the..."
Wheelman.
You're the one who pushes her along.
Right. In and out of airports, anywhere, you know.
There's a special lesson in Andrea, is there not?
Yes, there is. Her personality is such that you can't get depressed around her.
It's pretty important for the rest of us who tend to get depressed at little things. Thank you all. We'll be right back.
Don Sanchez on Channel 7 News at 5. For over 17 years, a part of Channel 7 News. He's taken you to meet the people, to see the events, to understand what makes the Bay Area so extraordinary. When you want reporting based on experience and a long-term commitment to the people of the Bay Area, you turn to Don Sanchez and Cheryl Jennings on Channel 7 News at 5. What matters to you matters to us.
It's one of the most common and controversial surgeries performed on women. Dr. Riddell has the latest alternative to the hysterectomy, Tuesday on Channel 7 News at 6.
If you'd like to run a shop that's all your own, buy yourself a cozy home, steer away from crummy deals, protect your car from roof to wheels, then you'll want this free and helpful book listing 200 government pamphlets. Look, for this new edition, just drop a line. Write new catalog, Pueblo, Colorado, 81009.
The 1870 Gallery in Belmont presents its first exhibition of the year entitled American Realism. Call 593-9679.
This La Victoria salsa tastes great. Sure does. Hi, Lee.
Hi, guys. Hey, you guys switched to La Victoria.
No way. That's our picante sauce.
Sure looks like La Victoria. Real thick. Well, tastes like La Victoria, too. So fresh. You sure this isn't La Victoria?
You want to bet? The only salsa we ever eat is...
This looks cute. Switch to La Victoria. It's thicker and fresher. You can bet on it.
Living room looking a little too lived in? Don't just clean it. Coit it. Coit, the world's most experienced cleaners of draperies, carpets, and upholstery.
This month only, Coit's bonus offer saves you big money. Save $25 on drapery.
For a transcript of this program, send $3 to Transcripts. Sally Jesse Raphael, 267 Broadway, New York, New York, 10007. Or call 212-227-READ.
I think the next time you think you're handicapped one way or another, you might want to think about our guests today. Thank you very much.
Some members of our audience will receive, and a promotional fee has been provided by